Hi everyone! Today I'm continuing the series that I started a few months ago with respect to the different possible and likely combinations between different MBTI types and different Enneagram types. So in my previous videos from the past few months, I've discussed combinations such as ENTJ and different Enneagram types, ENFP and the same, ISTP, ISFJ, ENTP, INFJ, INTP, and today I'm talking about INTJ and the most likely Enneagram types for the INTJ. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So, when it comes to the INTJ, the most likely MBTI types are 1, 5, and 6, followed by 3 and 8. Other possibilities can also happen, other combinations between INTJ and different Enneagram types, but the other ones are just more unlikely, especially, for example, INTJ 2 or INTJ 7. INTJ 4 and INTJ 9 are slightly more likely or moderately likely, but the most likely options, as I said, are 1, 5, and 6, followed by 3 and 8. So let's start with INTJ 5, because this is probably the most common pairing. As I was mentioning in my previous video where I talked about the INTP, a very common occurrence is a combination between Enneagram 5 and people who are both introverted and thinkers. So the 5 is common in INTPs and ISTPs as well, and in ISTJs too. And that's because there's a lot of similarities between this Enneagram type and these characteristics or traits or whatever dimensions in MBTI. So the INTJ 5 will be very much focused on acquiring knowledge. But the important part here to understand is that not everyone who's interested in learning and researching is an Enneagram 5, like I said in my previous video about INTP and 5. You'll often find that INTJs, regardless of their Enneagram type, will be interested in learning and studying and finding out a lot of new information and understanding a lot of new concepts. But if the INTJ is also an Enneagram 5, this means that they will be much more likely to draw their sense of safety and security from the process of learning and becoming experts in a field. Because INTJs are usually generalists because of their introverted intuition hero function. When paired with the Enneagram 5, they will put a lot of pressure on themselves to try to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into one or multiple topics of interest, because they will feel like if they don't do this, something bad will happen to them. They will feel a very strong sense of anxiety coming from the possibility that they will not have a role in this world. They will be thinking something like, well, if I don't study enough, if I don't learn enough, if I don't have the necessary competence in a field or in multiple fields, then what will happen to me? I will have no role in this society. I will be of no use in this world, and therefore I will lack the safety and security that I need, and I will not be able to give that to myself, which is a core motivation for Enneagram 5. So we will often find that INTJ 5s are slightly more passionate about digging deeper into certain areas of interest, and they are also more introverted potentially than other INTJs. Next, we have INTJ and Enneagram 6. This is another likely combination because Enneagram 6 is often highly found in people who are both introverts and J-types, not necessarily, but often. INTJ 6s, as compared to INTJ 5s, I would say are slightly more extroverted, not much more, but slightly more extroverted. And they will tend to show their extroverted thinking parent function in a bit of a more obvious way as compared to the INTJ 5s, who might find themselves often in an NI-FI loop as well. The INTJ 6s will care a lot about making sure that they carry out all of their responsibilities and duties in time, that they finish everything on time, that they have a list of things to do, a list of responsibilities, and that they fulfill them as much as possible so that other people can rely on them. So they show other people they are reliable, they are dependable, they are trustworthy, and consequently they will receive the same level of support from other people. Because Enneagram 6 is deeply conditioned by the idea that if they constantly make sure that they do the things that other people need, that they constantly support and carry out their duties and responsibilities in a proper way, then they will establish this level of trust around them, which is extremely important because as I've talked in some of my previous Enneagram videos, Enneagram 6 tends to be one of the most anxious people. So because of that, this will happen again and again and again, and the INTJ 6 will be constantly running around trying to fulfill their responsibilities because they need this. My father is an INTJ 6, and there is this quote that I heard coming from him, which I think is the epitome of this MBTI and Enneagram combination. He said, "I have a duty to the universe to keep working and fulfilling my tasks and duties." So while the Enneagram 5 might withdraw more, spending time doing research, analyzing, digging deeper, the Enneagram 6 will be a bit more externally focused, trying to accomplish and finish all of these things in order to create a network of trust, understanding, and support. And then we have INTJ Enneagram 1. I would say that these INTJs will also be quite introverted, similarly to the 5s, but they will be slightly more compliant than the 5s, because Enneagram 1 is a compliant type, as well as 6, whereas 5 is a withdrawn type. So this means that the INTJ 1 will be very much focused on making sure that everything is in place. They will be quite perfectionistic about their work, and they will be quite focused on living life in an intentional, meaningful way, living life with a purpose always, which obviously will make their introverted intuition shine. On the other hand, their extroverted thinking will be very much focused on making sure things are properly done, that things are taken to completion, that things are properly and logically supported by facts and concrete, okay, maybe not concrete information always, but facts and things that can actually serve as arguments to back that up. I would say that in the case of INTJ Enneagram 1, they will tend to be a little bit more let's say rigid, and will often display more anger in comparison to the 5s and 6s, who will be more fearful and more anxious because they are thinking types in the Enneagram. Okay, so I would say that 5, 6, and 1 are probably the most likely INTJ combinations, but 3 and 8 are also quite possible. Not as likely, but quite possible. Because Enneagram 3 tends to occur quite a lot in TE types, not necessarily, but quite a lot. And I would say that INTJ who have an Enneagram 3 as a core type are also one of the more extroverted versions, more extroverted than the 1 and the 5 and the 6, because 3 is quite an extroverted type usually. And they will be more image focused as compared to the other 3 versions of the INTJ, because 3 is an image type, a shame type, an identity type. So these INTJs will care more about the image they project to the world. They could look similar to the 1 and the 6, because they can all be very dutiful and organized and willing to work, willing to put in the effort to achieve whatever they want to achieve, but their motivation will be different. The 1 will want to work hard to ensure that they will not be controlled by the outside environment. The 6 will want to work hard to find trust from other people. Whereas the 3 will want to work hard to impress, to create an image for themselves and to prove it to themselves that they are worthy individuals. Okay? And then we also have INTJ 8, In this case, I would highlight the more obvious extroverted thinking, and I would say the INTJ's 8 might sometimes be ENTJ mistypes, or might actually mistype themselves as ENTJs, because the 8 pumps up their TE even more and makes it even more obvious. Again, this INTJ will appear to be slightly more extroverted, slightly more controlling, and slightly more let's say in charge as compared to the other INTJs, because with the Enneagram 8 they will want to ensure that they are the ones who are maintaining control over other people, over other projects, over external circumstances, and with that they will resist any form of control coming from the outside, similar to the 1, but in a much more obvious, assertive way, because Enneagram 8 is an assertive type, similarly to Enneagram 3. So INTJs who are either 3 and 8, assertive types, will come across as people whose energy you remember. And this will be much more obvious in comparison to the other INTJs who might prefer living a more solitary, withdrawn life. Okay, so these are my thoughts on the different combinations between INTJ and different Enneagram types. If you're an INTJ who's watching this video, what is your core Enneagram type? I'm pretty curious to see what other combinations there might be. And of course, if you know anyone else who's an INTJ, what do you think is their core Enneagram type? Would be quite interesting to know. Anyway, thanks a lot guys for being with me in this video. As I mentioned over the past few weeks, I also offer coaching sessions, not necessarily MBTI or Enneagram focused, although these are tools that I use along the way as well. But I work on a variety of topics such as life coaching and career coaching, such as communication skills development, working on relationships. But generally the red thread is creating a deep sense of self-awareness and understanding. So if you're interested in that, please click the link below in the description, and it will redirect you to my website where you can schedule your first free session. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, feel free to message me on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks a lot, guys. Really happy to have you with me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.